Come on, you knew this was coming. Okay, everybody, today we are here to look at my favorite top 10 movie soundtracks of all times. And notice I said the word favorite. Everybody has their own favorite. Everybody's going to have their own version of the greatest. So to say the greatest of this or the greatest of that, it's kind of pointless and redundant and meaningless. These are my personal favorites. Now, I did have a couple criteria going into this. Really, everything here is before the year 2000, keeping with the channel's theme. Also, these soundtracks had to have more than one song on it that I liked. There's been a lot of cool soundtracks out there in history. There's been some stuff that is just amazing. But as much as I love seeing and hearing the Simple Minds perform Don't You Forget About Me, if it's the only song I like off the soundtrack, it's not really going to make the list. But before I go any further, let me just throw out some great soundtracks that I might not have counted in this little run of mine. First off, you have the king of soundtracks during the 1980s, Kenny Loggins. He had stuff like, Danger Zone from Top Gun. He had the stuff from Footloose. He had the stuff from Caddyshack. You remember I'm Alright with the dancing gopher? Great stuff. He was everywhere. And you also have great soundtracks to things like, hey, Almost Famous. You got stuff like The Big Chill, which is like one of the first that really had that great compilation of all those great old tunes that you know and that you love. You got stuff like, The Breakfast Club, which I already mentioned, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and Fame. Come on, Irene Cara. Jesus. Pulp Fictions was cool. Everybody remembers McCall with the Convoy theme. You remember that? Arizona, noon on the 7th of June. All that kind of crap. There was so many great ones. I mean, we're talking about things like Rocky 3, come on, Eye of the Tiger, Cobra, Feel the Heat with Jean Beauvoir, amazing. Flashdance was cool. Karate Kid 2 had a cool one. Maximum Overdrive was AC/DC Overload. Even the movie Doomsday, which is largely forgotten, had a great way of fitting in Adam and the Ants, Dog Eat Dogs, that one crazy scene. So there's a million great soundtracks out there. Maybe some of the ones I just mentioned are on your top 10 list, but they didn't quite make mine. So without any ado, let's get cracking. Coming in at number 10, I wanted to throw in something that was kind of a wild card. Maybe people didn't see it coming. We're talking about the animated cult classic, Heavy Metal. Oh yeah, we're talking about, we got stuff from like Devo and Sabbath, and we got a Journey and Cheap Trick and Don Felder and Stevie Nicks. Come on, man, we're through being cool and we're working in the coal mine. Diverse little soundtrack, fun as hell, heavy but lighthearted, and reflective of the crazy little motion picture that it was in. So number 10, Heavy Metal. Number 9. We are looking at Those Summer Nights with Grease. Are you shitting me? Are you kidding? What? Yes, we are talking about Grease. The top to bottom, the whole thing, front to back, left to right. The writing's amazing. You really can't beat it. It is what it is. Phenomenal stuff. Great to the ear. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. Yes, you remember it. It's just the way it goes. Grease. Coming in at number 8. Streets of Fire. What? You kidding me? No, I'm serious. We are talking about that cool soundtrack to that cool movie that was done in the cool 1980s. And it had some of the awesome work of the one and only Jim Steinman. You know Jim Steinman. Come on. He was the brains behind the voice of Meatloaf. You know, Bad Out of Hell 2, I think Dead Ringer also. Some of his stuff on here is just gold. I mean, there's other cool stuff by like The Blasters and other things in there, Dan Hartman, don't get me wrong. But when you take Steinman's 2 hits, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young and Go Nowhere Fast, that's just amazing shit in and of itself. No more to say. Number 7. Never really had an official score release. Oh yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? But the music to it was put on an album by the band that wrote the music for it. We're talking about Queen's A Kind of Magic. Are you shitting me? One of the bonuses of this album actually is that the first song on it, One Vision, came from the movie Iron Eagle. Go figure. But the rest of that album is really Highlander. Come on, Who Wants to Live Forever? Princes of the Universe? 1 Year of Love? And my favorite, Give Me the Prize. You know, Kurgan's theme. Great album, great listen, great stuff. Enough said. Number 6. We are going and looking into some Strange Days. This thing is awesome. Now, this is one of those compilation albums where you got music that's all over the board. You got bands like Skunk and Nancy in this thing, and it really introduced me to them. Their first 3 albums were just amazing. And Tricky, and you got, Peter Gabriel teaming up with Deep Forest. And there's actually a performance in there that's really, really good by one Juliette Lewis doing covers of PJ Harvey. You know what I'm talking about? She actually did 2. I think they only put 1 on the soundtrack, and you can find the other one out there. And then she went on to be in Juliet and the Licks and all that kind of stuff. But that's all regardless. This is a really diverse, eclectic soundtrack, and it's really, really good. It goes from like crushing rock metalish to almost like, techno trippy. It's got everything in there and then some. Strange Days. Number 5, keeping with the eclectic vibe. We are talking about, oh my God, this is, I've listened to this thing so many times I can't even take it anymore. The Crow. Oh yeah. We know it had The Cure. We know it had Stone Temple Pilots. We know it had Pantera. We know it had the Rollins Band. But there's some other bands in here that might not be that much on your radar. We're talking about bands like For Love, Not Lisa, which is really cool. We did a couple of covers of those actually back in our early days of the band that I'm in. We're talking about bands like Helmet and the Machines of Loving Grace. So this thing is really, really, really an eclectic album. Dark, yes, granted, given. But it's an eclectic album. It's a cool album. It introduces you to a whole bunch of different bands, doing a whole different bunch of styles. Some of it industrial, some of it dark. We admit it, but it's a great soundtrack nonetheless. Number 4. Yes, it came from a Broadway play. And yes, there actually was a original version of it before the motion picture version of it, but we are talking about Jesus Christ Superstar. Let me tell you something, folks. I used to practice singing all the time, to singing the entire goddamn Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack. I shit you not. I kid you, I am serious. It is great stuff. That Weber Rice mastermind of a soundtrack, of whatever you want to call it. And then you throw in Ted Neely, you throw in Carl Anderson, and you throw in a story really even beyond biblical terms about 2 best friends breaking apart and their relationship just disintegrating, all woven within this thing. It's a masterpiece. I've played it so many times I don't know what to say. I've sang it so many times I don't know what to say. Jesus Christ Superstar will always have a place in my heart. And believe me, I throw it on there. Oh yeah, we used to do a live version of Heaven on Their Minds all the time. People loved it. Number 3. My controversy picked to a degree. It's going to piss off a lot of people. So here we go. Let me state first, I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. That's sacrilegious, I know. Some people are like, this guy's got to be friggin' shitting me. Musician his whole life, plays in bands, he's not a big fan of the Beatles? Sorry. Just never was. Didn't get into their voices. Didn't really think it was all that great. But I will say this, I love the soundtrack to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. I shit you not. Those songs, I know I'm going to catch it, I felt were better when performed by people that weren't the Beatles. I kid you not. You got Oh Darling by the Bee Gees, and basically half the other songs in there sang by the Bee Gees, which just came out phenomenal. You got Come Together by Aerosmith. What? Diane Steinberg doing You Never Give Me Your Money is pure perfection. The production on this thing is just amazing. I listen to it all the time. I love Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The movie score. The movie soundtrack. I hate to say the word score or soundtrack because they're 2 different things. You get what I'm saying. But I love it. Played it a million times. Always puts me in a good mood, oddly. It is what it is. Number 2. This should be a surprise to nobody. Saturday Night Fever. What? Did you ever listen to the thing front to back, top to bottom? The only thing that keeps it from being in the top spot is some of the songs are actually just grabbed from the last couple of albums that came before that the Bee Gees had done. They said, we'll put this on the soundtrack, we'll put that on there, and a couple new ones, blah, blah, blah. And they had some other songs on there, put in there for other people to sing, like, Von Elman doing it, "Can't Have You," all that kind of stuff, which, you could get them doing on their other versions. But it's just a masterpiece from top to bottom. The Bee Gees were on such a roll. I mean, they wrote the song Grease for Grease. And you shitting me? Anyway, the Bee Gees are on this top 10 list 3 times for a reason. Amazing songwriters, amazing performers. It is what it is. I don't care if you like rock, metal, funk, R&B, whatever it is. If you listen to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, there is no way you do not enjoy yourself. It's just the way it goes. It can't be avoided. It's gold, top to bottom. Now, before I get into the number 1, I wanted to throw out a couple of very close honorable mentions that almost made this list. The first one being the soundtrack to Eddie and the Cruisers. Great shit. It probably should have been my number 10, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe more than heavy metal. Should have been Eddie and the Cruisers, with, the Beaver Brown Band and all that kind of shit. Great stuff. Great songs. Totally enjoyable. Love it to death. And I got to do a couple shout outs for the wife, for the missus. She loves the Queen of the Damned soundtrack. Oh, yes, she does. Oh, yes, she does. She also likes, I think it was either The Matrix Reloaded or something, just because it's got Marilyn Manson. This is the new shit on it. But the Queen of the Damned soundtrack was her thing. And I got to mention it because it'll just put a smile upon her face. But that, and I got to cover it. Eddie and the Cruisers. Great stuff. And number 1, and this should come as no surprise to anybody, we are talking about Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. Oh, yes. How could you possibly get any better than this? One amazing musician, artist, call it what you want, with a really, really cool backup band, coming up with a group of songs that on their own are great, collectively just make a statement. It'll probably never quite happen again, where a motion picture comes along with that soundtrack, which an album was number 1 before the movie was ever even released. When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, and of course the immortal Purple Rain, surrounded by a bunch of other classic songs, some of them that sent Tipper Gore into a fucking hissy fit. It is what it is. It was what it was. The best movie married with the best music together to make I'm not saying it was the best movie of all time, but it was a great, really cool movie. Put together with a great, great soundtrack that just dominated the airwaves and the theaters at that point in time. You can't... Name something that can humanly be better. I mean, every song is a winner. Every song is a hit. Every song just works. It's on the top of the mountain. It's looking down on all the others. And there's some other ones up there with it. But really, what can more stand alone than Purple Rain? All right, everybody. That was just a little bit of fun with a little bit of look at a little bit of music. And we had ourselves a flashback. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Leave comments below. I know some of them are going to shit on me for some of the things I picked. I get it. I know some are going to be like, you don't like the Beatles? What are you talking about? What? I get it. But I really want to hear the ones that you like. Maybe there's something I forgot about. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's something that fell out of my head that when you guys bring it up, I'm going to be like, how did I not include that? Something is wrong with me. Ooh, is what it is. Anyway, before we go any further, before we all take off and enjoy our days, remember, be good, take care, stay out of trouble, be kind to a stranger, be there for a friend. And most of all, more than anything, never, and I mean ever, take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.